And I really do have trouble deciding whether this is evil or incompetence with these people and who's really the worst of the bunch. I guess it depends on the day, but no matter what happens, Scott Wiener is definitely up there. I think he deserves more of the spotlight than he gets because he knows young gay guys. What is up? My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. This, of course, is the epicenter for all of your current and captivating coastal elite chaos. So please hit that subscribe button, like the video, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this with a friend. Let's go. Here I have a vintage clip of California Senator Scott Wiener. No relationship to Anthony Weiner, I don't think, but either way, this man is the creepiest person in all of American politics. I have said that a million times, and at first I thought, how does a grown man get this far in politics, or just life in general, with these insane ideas? He has to be pure evil, but I really don't know. He might just be a pawn, an overgrown victim of the establishment, the Newsom, Pelosi types, and he genuinely believes this nonsense. He is most known for his weirdo sex offender laws and LGBTQ stuff, and even paying junkies or trying to pay junkies to stay clean. He may just be a patsy. The establishment hack shills send him out there to make outrageous claims and laws to push the needle or the Overton window a little bit in their direction, and he's gay and Jewish, so he has a little bit more of a buffer than if a regular white man did any of this stuff. But you can also make the argument that a quote-unquote regular white man wouldn't be making these insane arguments, but whatever. And this guy is kind of between a rock and a hard place because his base, if such a thing does exist, is likely mostly pro-Palestine, and he can't co-sign that completely because, well. And Senate Bill 54 is about supporting sanctuary cities and rejecting efforts to force local jurisdictions to coordinate with federal agencies in enforcing federal immigration laws. We all remember, or maybe we all don't, but I certainly remember when former Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf said that she wasn't going to inform the illegals that ICE was coming because, I don't know, she's a treasonous floozy. That aside, not what this is about. Imagine briefly if Senator Scott here was somehow, just for the sake of argument, if he was somehow able to push through a national bill requiring, mandatory drag shows, mandatory all-age drag shows in every major city. And if he got that through on a national level, for the sake of argument, would he be okay with certain cities or states ignoring that law? I doubt it. From the California Senate Democrats YouTube channel, Senator Scott Wiener on Senate Bill 54. It says right here, Senate Public Safety Committee, January 31, 2017.
First of all, I want to thank Senator De Leon for his leadership on this critically important issue. We, as California right now, need to stand up in a very clear and strong way to say that what is happening in this country is both terrifying and unacceptable. And
Wait. So he says, we as California. First of all, Scott, as blue and crazy as California is, there is no way on God's green earth that you speak for everybody in California. And then he says, oh, well, this is terrifying. This is horrible. What? He's never going to define that. He's never going to tell you what is so scary, what is so bad that happened. Is it just because a man you don't like, a man you have been trained not to like, became the president? All the way back in 2017, before anything even happened, he won the election. And now you're mad about it and calling it scary and pretending you speak for everybody in California?
If California isn't going to stand up and push back and say no to this administration, then I don't know who will. When I was growing up, I learned early on that when you're dealing with a bully, you don't capitulate, you don't cave in. If you cave into a bully and say, well, you're saying you're illegally going to take money away from us, so therefore we're going to do what you want to do and turn in our immigrant neighbors to be deported, and so we're going to cave into you, that's not going to stop him.
Yeah, well, he's right. He's right. You should not capitulate to a bully, but obviously he is far off base and just ignoring the idea that you are the bully, Scott. You guys, the establishment hack shills, are the bully. You're the ones canceling people and physically attacking people and protesting and stopping traffic every time somebody doesn't agree with one of your weirdo talking points. You guys are the bully.
He's just going to go further and further and continue to do real damage to democratic institutions in this country. So it is up.
And then he says, well, trying to stop our illegal immigrant neighbors is only going to push them further. No, you just made that up. Well, trying to stop them isn't going to stop them. Well, Scott, I think you should just stop them. Right? He's pretending that, well, we're going to try this, it's not going to work. It's the same walls don't work argument. It's all absolutely ridiculous. And the only thing that has to happen for anything these people say to be true is just for it to come from them. If it comes from anybody else, we see that with the billboards that were put up in El Paso. The billboards in El Paso quite literally say San Francisco welcomes immigrants, right? So if somebody pays to put up the billboard, that's insane, it's not helping. But you said it 6 years ago and it was all rational.
To California to stand up and be strong. Not all states have the ability politically or economically to do what we can do in this state to be a counterbalance to this administration. I just want to talk a little bit about our immigrant communities, because over and over again we hear
see how it's our immigrant communities. There's a big difference between an immigrant and illegal immigrant, an illegal alien. But every single time, we all know about the Democrat dystopian doublespeak euphemisms. They're going to manipulate the language until there's nothing left.
Stereotypes and caricatures of immigrants as somehow immigrants are criminals, that it's all about immigrants being criminals. We know from various studies that immigrant communities have lower crime rates than.
Name the studies, Scott. Name one of the studies. They just blurt these things out, and you're all expected to just wear it.
Other communities. And so we need to move away from somehow implying, or sometimes explicitly, this president has certainly done that, in saying that immigrants are somehow more likely to commit crimes. It's just not true. People come to this country like my grandparents did, like so many families came here to make lives for themselves, to raise their children, to live their lives. We need to embrace.
So he's an immigrant now, right? Of course, like old white men. Of course, my parents came here. We're all immigrants, bro. This is mental gymnastics at its best, or maybe at its worst. These
communities and stop saying that they're somehow criminals. It's not true.
Except,
I just want to, know, in terms of the horrific tragedy in San Francisco.
Okay, so he says we need to stop claiming they're criminals, and now he's about to get out in front of a very famous case that everybody remembers from a handful of years ago. So we're gonna say everything's okay, and let me just make sure I get out in front of this, because I know what the other side of the aisle is gonna argue on this one.
Around Kate Steinle. We became targets for Donald Trump and for Fox News and for others because of this terrible, tragic murder.
Targets for Donald Trump and Fox News. Anytime anybody decides to cover what's going on in California in the news, it becomes an attack, and we're the target. And this guy is constantly talking about how he's receiving bomb threats and all this type of stuff. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But it's like, dude, people just want to know the truth, and as soon as they hear it, you call it a threat.
That occurred in our city, for which the perpetrator is being prosecuted. And that became an attack on San Francisco and our status as a sanctuary city. We're proud of our sanctuary city status in San Francisco. It makes us a stronger and better city.
Okay, so you were proud of the sanctuary city status then. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Scott Wiener is directly involved in the billboards or complaining about the billboards that popped up in El Paso, Texas. But those billboards just relay that exact same message. And it is detrimental and confusing when somebody else does it. But when we did it just a handful of years ago, You were all just supposed to wear it, even though there was a huge story in the news about how an illegal immigrant killed a woman in San Francisco.
But let's be real clear in that situation. The federal government had him, the perpetrator, in custody. They had him in custody, and instead of deporting him, they released him. They turned him over to San Francisco. So why is it San Francisco's responsibility then to turn him back over when the federal government had him in custody and for whatever reason chose not to deport him? And that really points to the fundamental issue here, that it is not our responsibility as a state or as cities to do the federal government's job for it. If the federal government wants to enforce its immigration laws, it can do so. If it wants to enforce its criminal laws.
Okay, so the federal government can enforce its immigration laws if it wants to, but Senate Bill 54 is literally about ignoring those laws and making sure that you are not cooperating with those investigations.
It can and should do so. It is not our job to do that work for the federal government. I support this bill, and I look forward to passing it out of committee today.
This video was posted all the way back in January of 2017, and obviously he puts the blame for the Steinle shooting on the feds, which at the time was a really big deal, and I don't think we've seen anything quite that extreme since then, but that's not to say the problem of illegal immigration hasn't gotten exponentially worse, and it's only a matter of time before we see something like that again. So he wants to blame the feds. All right, was that Obama's fault? Are we to believe that in 10 days in office that Donald Trump decided he was going to let an illegal immigrant roam free on the streets of San Francisco? It doesn't make any sense. And notice he says in his little speech there, they were going to illegally take away money. So, I mean, are you kidding me? This guy is complaining that the federal government was going to illegally take away money that they plan to give to illegals. You just can't make this up. And there are plenty of these videos of Scott Wiener putting his foot in his mouth, making these insane claims about immigrants and trans kids and monkeypox and all types of stuff. And as crazy as he is, you kind of have to give him credit because it is clear he is not going to stop. I think he actually believes this stuff. I think Newsom and Pelosi and all of the establishment creep, shill, hacks, they know exactly what's going on, which makes it a little bit more evil and sinister. But a guy like Scott Wiener, I think he genuinely believes this, but who knows? I mean, he's 45 or 50 years old, whatever it is. He either really believes this or he is a damn good actor. And I really do have trouble deciding whether this is evil or incompetence with these people and who's really the worst of the bunch. I guess it depends on the day, but no matter what happens, Scott Wiener is definitely up there. I think he deserves more of the spotlight than he gets because he knows young gay guys.
I know of a young gay, an 18-year-old gay teenager right now who he is facing the sex offender registry because he had sex with his boyfriend.
I know a young gay man. I mean, 18. He's 18. I swear he's 18. Yeah, okay. We're sure you do, Scott. More on that later.